Shalom, happy sabbatical or Shabbat, weekend blessings, all praise to the Most High. Now, we talked about solar power and the troubles that it was going to really cause, so on. And now we're about to get into a real depth of the matter. It was all a setup to get your money so they can make their little weaponry toys, so on. Welcome to Solar Power Setup, Money Manipulations. It's the greatest magic trick in the world, y'all. Deception is why we must walk by faith and not by sight, by the spirit of the power. Now, they've been making all this ruckus, and you already know the New World Order has taken place, and this is their last trick. Let's get right into it, shall we? Y'all know the truth.
He had on her show in the US that I thought was worth replaying here, which is an bit of tape of Donald Trump. You see, Donald Trump, 2018, looks the Germans in the eye and says, hey guys, you are overly reliant on Russian gas. Their reaction, well, Trump was right, and Megan knows it.
They openly laughed at him. There's a shot of the German delegation just sitting there mocking him. They got such a kick out of what they perceived as his ignorance. He was 100% correct. And of course, we're living it right now. Germany made this commitment to go all renewables, all wind, all solar. They moved into the 21st century saying, we're going to save the environment. We will save the climate. And they didn't stop to think about exactly what the smartest way of doing that would be, because wind and solar aren't going to do it. They're not ready. And there are all sorts of drawbacks to it. And the other thing about wind and solar is they have to be 100% backed up, because as you know, they don't always work. It's tough to get the solar energy when it's, what's the word? Oh yeah, nighttime. So you need a backup.
One of many problems with going all in on wind and solar is that, you know, it needs backup technology, it needs firming technology because, you know, it is intermittent. And you had a great conversation with a bloke called Michael Schellenberg, who's a former Greenpeace guy, well known to our audience here as well. And he listed all of the problematic areas with this rush towards certain technologies. While it might be better for the atmosphere, it's terrible for the actual planet.
Yeah, exactly. We were so worried about the air, we forgot about the earth. So California, for example, has now just decided that it's going to ban gas-powered cars. It wants to go all electric, and they're not ready for this. Not near ready. He says this is a joke, and so while they may have resolved to do it legislatively, they cannot do it as a practical matter. You know what happens at the end of the day when you have a battery-powered car? You have to plug it in. You got to plug it into something. They don't have the charging stations. You talked about how the batteries are made and how this is just going to make us all way more reliant on China because the lithium is largely made in China. The batteries are largely made in China. We can't do it over here.
Well, it's the empowering of China as well. I mean, don't forget, under the Paris Accord, they can keep polluting as much as they want, and it only counts at 2030, when the United States is allegedly going to cut its greenhouse gases by 50%. Australia's going to go 43%. We will be reliant on buying technology from essentially an adversary, we used to call them enemies, but an adversarial country that will only get more powerful and more dirty and more polluting.
So not only is China absolutely not obeying by these same cleanup standards, but they just created this new train that carries their coal from A to B. They're openly in love with coal. And Germany, let's save the planet, 21st century Germany. Guess what they're going to have to do now? They're going to have to use coal.
Now, I am fascinated by what we are seeing in real time here. Biden, left to his own devices, falls up the stairs and is flailing. So much so that open speculation of should he run, will he run? But then the media has now decided to come in and deliver air support for Joe Biden. Apparently, moving above inflation, above everything else, are threats.
Now, let's do some research. The word bi means two, like bisexual, the word by. But very interesting. The word den, meaning very, very, very interesting. Other than a habitat for wild animals. Come on, computer, keep up. Right there. A center of secret activity. I thought that was very interesting right there. So the word by mean two secret activities who currently we have MAGA, Make America Great Again, right? If you were upset about that, we'll do a message about that. But just showing you Den now is a center of secret activity. So the word by, it means two. Let's make sure, man. Let's make sure BC know his prefixes, man. I could be wrong. That's why we got all what we need right now. We got the little what we call it, technological dictionary. Oh, look, two. Okay, so we make sure we right. Coming or occurring every two bicentennial. Okay, so we got two centers of secret activity. What we call that? Democrats and Republicans. Oh, that hurt, didn't it? All right, let's get back to business now. Nah, that's not what I wanted. This is what I wanted. My boy Woodward. Certainly nothing is
scam people into leaving. They have to.
Aloha.
You guys know that
Michael Dean Scott, Shalom, Jimmy Don, blessings, Alan Gonzalez,
itself, right?
Shalom,
Well,
Christopher Jordan
they're
Gillis.
not the only state, and
Blessings,
there are
everybody.
other places in the world going through this as well. We keep hearing this term, net zero. You gotta hit net zero by 2050. Well, the way things are going now, I don't know if anybody will be burning anything more than a campfire by then. So I say, good luck.
There you go.
It is going to be simple, straightforward, and I hope that you will see and understand why, or understand one of the reasons we have this quote-unquote CO2 problem today. So the question would be, why are they making such a big fuss about this particular molecule, which only makes up a tiny fraction of the atmosphere? Folks, if you want to know the answer to a question like this, follow the money. Am I right? Now, this statement comes from S&P Global. Their specialty is financial information and analytics. Carbon dioxide is regarded as the leading climate issue for its role in accelerating global warming. CO2 is produced by the burning of fossil fuels, coal, natural gas, crude, or refined oils, to generate electricity and heat, or for transportation purposes via the production of cement, the transformation from limestone or calcium carbonate to lime or calcium oxide releases CO2, and by various other industries. In 2020, mainland China was estimated to be the largest CO2 producing nation, 28% of global CO2 emissions, followed by the United States and India with 16% and 6% respectively. So from this, the governments around the world want us to believe that all this CO2 is just being released into the atmosphere. Listen to this. The carbon dioxide business is traditionally thought of as the recovery and distribution of liquid carbon dioxide. since this is the most common traded product. Liquid carbon dioxide is usually recovered as a gaseous byproduct of industrial operations, such as hydrogen production by the steam reforming of natural gas or the production of ethanol by fermentation. The gaseous carbon dioxide is liquefied for sale as a merchant product because liquid carbon dioxide can be transported more economically than gas. Many consumers also use carbon dioxide for the physical properties associated with its being a refrigerated liquid. Liquid carbon dioxide reaches end users through a network of highway tankers, resupply depots, and rail cars. Carbon dioxide is also traded as dry ice in the solid state, with its main end being transport refrigeration. As a result of these circumstances, the carbon dioxide business is highly regional. Mainland China is the major market for carbon dioxide, accounting for about 28% of global demand in 2020, followed by North America and Southwest Asia, accounting for about 27% and 11%, respectively. Oh, so the same ones that produce the largest amounts of CO2 sell the most CO2. There is a substantial market for gaseous carbon dioxide for use in enhanced oil recovery. Another large use for gaseous carbon dioxide is on-site chemical manufacturing. For example, many ammonia manufacturers generate byproduct carbon dioxide and consume it in the same site for urea production. Folks, this whole CO2 thing is only relevant to the companies that produce it. I'll say it again. CO2 is only relevant. These numbers they throw out at us, 400 plus parts per million or billion, whatever it is, it's only relevant to the companies that produce it. It's actually currently 413.98 parts per million. They package it and ship it. CO2 is a product that sells. The process of oil recovery literally takes back some of that CO2 to improve the extraction of oil. They want you to believe, honestly believe, that there is way too much CO2 that only makes up about 0.04% of the volume of what makes up the atmosphere on this planet. So we go from, let's say, 0.04% to 0.041%, and the climate's gone crazy. What do I know? I'm not a scientist. The point is, they want us to cut carbon emissions, and I just showed you all what they do with it. So, they want your gas vehicles. Governor Newsom just announced the plan to end gas engines by 2035 throughout California. You know, because they want to be the first to die. Does he know what year it is? I'm no genius, but isn't that only 13 years to get yourself an EV? See, you can no longer live in California, folks. You can only survive California. It's already hot there, but they just love cranking up the heat just a little bit more. Don't you guys see? They want you out of there. They are making it almost impossible to live there. So let me just show you something else here so I don't get off topic too much. This comes from the Berkeley Lab News Center. Plants buy us time to slow climate change, but not enough to stop it. New research from Berkeley Lab and UC Berkeley shows that plants are photosynthesizing more in response to more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. As human activities cause more carbon dioxide to be emitted into the atmosphere, scientists have debated whether plants are responding by photosynthesizing more and sucking up even more carbon dioxide than they already do. And if so, is it a little or a lot more? So I want to stop right there for a second, folks. We already know and have known for quite some time that when you pump CO2 into a greenhouse, the plants in the greenhouse grow better and they produce a larger yield. So it's not new research. It's rebooted. Okay. Now, an international team of researchers led by Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory and UC Berkeley have used a novel methodology combining remote sensing, machine learning, and terrestrial biosphere models to find that plants are indeed photosynthesizing more, to the tune of 12% higher global photosynthesis from 1982 to 2020. In that same time period, global carbon dioxide concentrations in the atmosphere grew about 17%, from 360 parts per million to 420 parts per million, which is nothing, folks, when you think about how much carbon dioxide actually makes up the atmosphere. The 12% increase in photosynthesis translates to 14 petagrams of additional carbon taken out of the atmosphere by plants each year, roughly the equivalent of the carbon emitted worldwide from burning fossil fuels in 2020 alone. So what they are saying here is that there is no excess of carbon dioxide as we produce and emit more carbon dioxide, because the plants have sucked up the extra CO2 from burning fossil fuels. Not all of the carbon taken out of the atmosphere through photosynthesis is stored in ecosystems, as much as later released back to the atmosphere through respiration. But the study reports a direct link between the increased photosynthesis and increased global carbon storage. The study was published in Nature. By the way, the reason I read all this out is because some people like to just listen to this show, and it helps to verbalize what is being shown on the screen, as everything I am reading here is important information. So they say it's CO2 that is causing the climate to change or fluctuate, because we are having extreme high temperatures and extreme low temperatures. I say it's the sun. The sun is affecting the earth because something is affecting the sun outside of the heliosphere. I mean, what is it they actually want us to do? Buy an electric vehicle? That's a laugh. Then what? No more backyard barbecues? What about fireworks, fireplaces? I mean, what is it they want us to do? Because they're not doing anything but shutting things down. This, of course, like many other things, is manufactured. It is engineered. They're absolutely lying about CO2. Folks, do you know what happens? Let me tell you, plants, they are about 90-95% water, depending on the plant. That somewhat varies. The rest of the plant is made up of several different minerals, hydrogen, carbon. But carbon is very important to the plant because it makes up the plant structure, and it is what allows the plant to grow. The plant processes the carbon into sugar so that the plant can grow. And so plants are always taking CO2 out of the atmosphere and processing it wherever they are growing. At the same time, CO2 has to be released into the air to replenish what plants take out. So what happens is, if there isn't enough CO2 being emitted, then the CO2 levels drop because the plants are sucking it all up. If they drop too low, and I mean below 250 parts per million, that's it. The plants, they stop growing. It doesn't matter how much light or water or fertilizer you feed them, they will not grow. Do you know how much CO2 you need to have a plant grow at its best? 1,200 parts per million. Some growers go up to 1,500 parts per million. Go ahead and try and grow some healthy plants in a greenhouse without pumping some CO2 into it. There is a huge difference. By the way, most of the air we breathe is nitrogen. And you can't have nitrification without plants and animals. You won't have organisms in the soil that release nitrogen back into the atmosphere. You need plants for oxygen. Bottom line is, if you attack CO2, you attack all air. That's really all I wanted to cover for today. I think I've shown you that.
So, as the scriptures say, every herb of the air or every herb yielding seed man can eat. You know, you consume air, you consume smoke. It gets into your digestive system where they can test it. So obviously it's consumed droplets of air, water droplets. But, you know, they don't get that deep. But how could a spirit be water? Mist droplets of vapor power. I'm BC the Tishvite, BC the Hebrew. Shalom blessings on the Shabbat, sabbatical weekend, feast of the trumpets. Leviticus chapter 23 say the first of the 7th month. Don't let man fool you. Don't do it under penalty of perjury, but under the appreciation of praise and the observance of that sky about to crack open and we meet the Lord in the air. Peace and blessings.